the problem and how to solve the problem is this yoniso manasikara. So here, this translation, careful attention, is also although it's not exact the translation, but it conveys the meaning that when you pay attention, you have to be very careful, consider thoroughly. So this is another factor that's very important. So I'll stop here for tonight. So you see how important it is to go through the suttas carefully, so that we understand exactly the Buddha's teaching. Because generally when you hear from other teachers, they talk about 7 Bojjhanga, and then they don't tell you how to practice the 7 Bojjhanga in the correct way. But here the Buddha tells you exactly these 7 Bojjhangas must be practiced one by one. Just like the Noble Eightfold Path, you must start with right view. And then after that will lead you to right thoughts, and that will lead you to right speech, and that will lead you to right action. Yeah, anything?
Just try to find out why maybe the Sapa is it or the Buddha is it, when another person recites the 7 Bojjhangas and they get cured. How can that happen? What caused the sickness to go away?
You see, when nowadays actually doctors say a lot of our sickness, a lot of it, maybe 90%, is from the mind. But of course for the Arahants, it's not from the mind. But even though it's a physical sickness, but because of their love for the Dhamma, they have so much respect and love for the Dhamma that when they hear these 7 factors of enlightenment, they are so happy. And this happiness pervades the body, you see. And they feel better.
When I was listening to that, I was curious. Where does it relate to the sutta on the 26? They say that if there is, when you listen to or cultivate the 7 factors of enlightenment, when this comes to the destruction of karma, with the destruction of karma comes the destruction of suffering. Would that be related?
Yes, but this destruction of karma means, it doesn't mean total destruction of karma. It means that you firstly, if you walk the spiritual path or the holy path, you don't want to create bad karma, right? And then you don't want to create good karma like charity and all that. You don't go out your way to do charity. Why? Because a person on the holy path, he goes inwards into his mind. When he develops the 7 factors of enlightenment, he's attained the 4 jhanas, When he's attained the 4 jhanas, he keeps going into his mind. He doesn't go out into the world. So in that way, he does not do any more karma. So in that sense, it's called destruction of karma. It's not that it's impossible for him to do any karma. He can do karma. Unless when the ego is eliminated, when the person attains arahanthood, then there is no self, there is no force behind that karma. So that when he does anything, when the Buddha, for example, when the Buddha says the Buddha decides to turn the Dhamma wheel, set in motion the Dhamma wheel to teach the Dhamma to the world. Actually, for an ordinary person, when you have this intention, is karma. But for the Buddha, for the enlightened person, there is no karma because there is no being behind that, behind the intention. So there is no karma. So in the case of a person who has not yet become enlightened, he still can create karma. It's only that he has no more interest to create karma.
Sometimes our friends are friends, so it's wrongly used. I felt.
Call them what?
Calendar friends, spiritual friends. So it's not correct. Based on the explanation, it's not.
Yeah, not exactly correct lah. They are more like what we call soulmate lah. Nowadays people use the term soulmate. The mind refers to our mind, the state of the mind. So like you can say thoughts also, whatever is in the mind. To keep an eye on the mind, what is coming out in the mind. Just like feelings, when you refer to feelings, that means you just be aware when certain feelings arise. So when certain feelings arise, for example, like happy feelings, the Buddha says we should not allow these happy and unhappy feelings to shake our mind. So when happy feelings come up, naturally you want to be happy. So for an ordinary person, when you're happy, you want to jump for joy and you want to make a big thing out of it. You want to prolong it. But when it goes away, then you have a lot of dukkha. So because of that, the Buddha says, when happiness arises, just know it's happy. Don't be overjoyed. Just know that there is something temporary. It arises, it will pass away. So if you are able to control your happy feeling, so when suffering arises, in the same way, your mind is not easily moved. You can also just know that it's impermanent. But you need to develop a strong mind. If your mind is not strong, you may have the theory, but you cannot put into effect because it will, that strong states of feeling will just knock you down. Why we need to observe the mind? Because sometimes unwholesome states arise, unwholesome states of mind arise, thoughts and all that. So one of the factors of the Noble Eightfold Path is right effort. Right effort is when unwholesome states arise, you quickly try to get rid of it. And if wholesome states arise, then we try to prolong it. So observing the mind, observing the feelings are useful. A lot of us, we don't observe our mind. So when we don't observe our mind tricks us, For example, this Goenka meditation, they taught to these prisoners, and this was prisoners who had killed people, murdered people and all that. So because the mind is very cunning, these people had actually killed somebody, but the mind tricked them into believing that they did not kill. They refused to believe that they killed somebody. Maybe they thought it's only in self-defense and all that. Then when they learn this Vipassana meditation, they start to observe their mind. Then they realize they actually killed that person. Then only they admitted. So in the same way, we all of us we have a lot of faults, but a lot of people never want to look inside. So a lot of people always look at other people's fault, never look at your own fault. So in that way, you can never change. And then when somebody criticizes you, tells you your fault, such people will refuse to believe. They get angry. They refuse to accept that they have these faults. But when we start looking into ourselves, instead of looking at other people's faults, we look into our own faults. And then slowly we realize it's true, we have such faults, and then we start changing. If you don't change, you are wasting your human life. The Buddha says, you might as well go and die. Kisi kaho. Because you are using up all your blessings. Every day you are using up your blessings. If you walk the spiritual path, then you are a living person. Otherwise, if you don't use your life in a good way, in a way that benefits you spiritually, you are as good as a dead man. The Buddha says, even if you live for 100 more years, you are not going to progress from now. So you might as well pass away. Even Jesus also said, Jesus, when he asked his new disciple to follow him, he said, because some of his disciples were fishermen, he said, come, I will make you fishers of men. Instead of catch fish, go and catch men. So one of them said, Lord, my father or something just died now. He said, I have to go back and bury him. Then what did Jesus say? Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead. In other words, those people who are not interested in the spiritual path, they are dead people. Let them take care of these dead affairs. Even the Buddha, when the Buddha was about to pass away, the Buddha said, after he has passed away, he told his disciples, you don't worry about my funeral and cremation and all that. Let the lay people look after that. So the Buddha is only interested in the spiritual path. All these worldly matters are not important. Okay, shall I transfer Marin?